What if a dance could kill you? Not in a movie, not in a book of folklore, but in real life. What if an entire city, for one long, terrifying summer, was gripped by an invisible force that compelled its citizens to dance in the streets? It's the story of a time and a place where sanity frayed, and the human body was turned into a puppet by an unseen master. This is the true, unbelievable story of the dancing plague of 1518. Without music, without cause, she began to dance. But this was not a dance of happiness. Her movements were jerky, convulsive. For nearly a week, she danced alone, a frantic, agonizing ballet under the summer sun, her feet bleeding on the hard cobblestones. And then, she was no longer alone. They consulted the local physicians, who were utterly baffled. Their prescription was not rest and quiet, but more dancing. It was a decision that would turn a bizarre crisis into a deadly catastrophe. They even built a large wooden stage for the afflicted. To help them sweat out the poison, the council hired professional musicians. The explanation for the plague shifted from a medical problem to a spiritual one. The blame was now placed on divine anger. They were transported to a shrine in the nearby mountains, a shrine dedicated to a saint they believed could cure compulsive disorders, Saint Vitus. It is from this desperate act that the phenomenon earned its other name, Saint Vitus dance. Drummers and pipers were paid to provide a constant, driving beat, encouraging the dancers to keep moving. First, the primary symptom of ergotism is often gangrene, which restricts blood flow to the hands and feet. It would be nearly impossible for victims to dance for days on end. Second, witnesses describe the victims' movements as a coordinated dance, not the random, jerky seizures typical of ergot poisoning. The dancing wasn't caused by a poison, but by the mind itself, triggered by unbearable stress and a powerful cultural belief. When Frau Trophia started dancing, she provided a template. For others on the brink of psychological collapse, her behavior became a contagious, desperate outlet for their terror and anxiety. And if you found this story as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like and subscribe for more dives into the strangest corners of history. Thank you for watching. While it might explain some symptoms, it doesn't explain the whole story. After deliberation, they reach a diagnosis rooted in the medical science of the day. It proves that sometimes the most unbelievable stories are the ones that are entirely true, and that the most terrifying monsters are not born of fantasy, but from the depths of human suffering itself. People weren't dancing away the sickness, they were dancing themselves to death. They had endured one of the worst famines in a generation. Disease was everywhere, and their worldview was steeped in intense superstition. They fervently believed that saints and demons could interact with the physical world, and that a curse from a vengeful saint, like Saint Vitus, could genuinely force you to dance. This fungus produces a chemical that is a powerful hallucinogen and causes severe muscle spasms. It seems like a perfect fit, a whole town needing tainted bread, leading to hallucinations and uncontrollable twitching. A horrifying perfect storm of famine, disease, and superstition that pushed a community past its breaking point. It was a fever of despair made manifest, a social contagion born from the deepest corners of the human psyche. They collapsed from strokes, heart attacks, and pure, physical exhaustion. By the height of the plague, it's reported that as many as 15 people were dying each day. They concluded the dancers were suffering from hot blood. Her face was a mask of agony, as if she was fighting her own body. She was not dancing, she was being danced. Not for joy, not for celebration, but uncontrollably, relentlessly. Until they collapsed from sheer exhaustion, or their hearts simply gave out. This isn't a myth, it isn't a legend, it is a documented, historical event that has baffled historians and scientists for 500 years. Our story begins in July, in the imperial city of Strasbourg. The year is 1518, and times are hard. Famine has ravaged the land. Diseases like smallpox, leprosy, and the new terror, syphilis, are rampant. Life is cheap, and despair is a constant companion. On a hot summer day, a woman named Frau Trophia walked into the street. Her husband pleaded with her to stop. Neighbors watched in confused horror, but she couldn't. She danced for hours, which turned into days. One by one, others joined her, a neighbor, a passerby. Within a week, there were more than 30 people dancing in the streets. The bizarre affliction was spreading, a macabre spectacle was unfolding, and no one understood why. The city's leaders, the guilds, and the magistrates were in a panic. They believed the only cure was for the patients to dance the fever out of their systems. By order of the council, the city's guild halls and the open-air grain market were cleared to create dance floors. But what if the cure was the poison itself? The non-stop exertion, under the heat of the August sun, began to take a horrific toll. Realizing their catastrophic mistake, the authorities reversed their policy. The stage was torn down. Music and public dancing were banned. The council ordered that the remaining dancers be collected and taken on a forced pilgrimage. The dancing eventually subsided by early September. But for 500 years, the question has remained: what really happened in Strasbourg? The first logical suspect is a physical poison, specifically, ergot poisoning. Ergot is a mold that grows on damp rye, the primary grain used for bread in the region. But this theory, while tempting, begins to fall apart under scrutiny. This leads us to the most widely accepted explanation today: mass psychogenic illness, more commonly known as mass hysteria. To understand this, we have to step into their world. 1518 Strasbourg was a crucible of suffering. The historian John Waller argues that the people of Strasbourg were in a state of extreme psychological distress. He suggests they entered a collective trance state. The dancing plague was not a supernatural event, it was a human one. The story of Strasbourg is a chilling reminder of the power of the mind and the fragility of society under pressure. What do you think was the real cause of the dancing plague? Poison, psychology, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below.